What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. Today we congratulate your 2020 NFL champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's right, Tom Brady has won his 7th Super Bowl title. We congratulate everybody on the Buccaneers for a job well done. We're going to break down everything you need to know from the big game, react to some of the things that we saw, all that and much more coming your way right now. Have you guys seen Nick? He's usually right next to me. What happened? That's right. Nick's in Florida. Yeah, he left me all alone. So, here we are. Sorry, Trash Talkers, if you were looking for a little banter like we normally have, but I'm flying solo today. But why don't we jump right in and get started on today's video. Obviously, I want to start off with congratulations. Congratulations to Tom Brady, everybody on the Buccaneers roster, my guy, my favorite player, Mike Evans. Listen, he may not have done much, but he was an absolute threat all season long, and it showed out there today. But I want to get into the good before we have to dive into the bad. So let's start off with some of the good things that we saw. Tom Brady looked as good as absolutely ever. Tom Brady, Father Time has no idea where he lives. In fact, he doesn't even know where he lived in New England and that he moved. That's how far back Father Time is from Tom Brady right now. So, Tom Brady's got a few more years left in the tank at minimum. He was quoted earlier this week as saying that he may consider going till he's 50. I don't know if it's possible, but I'm not going to bet against that man anytime soon. So, Tom Brady, absolutely phenomenal. 21 of 29, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns. The guy was on point. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was as precise as ever. Those balls looked absolutely perfect. And it doesn't hurt that he was in Tampa Bay for this Super Bowl. It really doesn't. But then if you take a look, it wasn't just Tom Brady. That rushing game really showed up and showed out. Leonard Fournette had 16 carries for 89 yards. Ronald Jones had 12 carries for 61 yards. These guys carried their load. They were honest. They were downhill runners. They kept the ball moving forward, and it kept the defense honest, on their toes, saying that we cannot send all the pressure at the quarterback. We have to understand that the running backs are there and they can gouge us for yards. So then you take a look at some of the receiving options. Rob Gronkowski, 6 catches, 67 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette, 4 catches, 46 yards. Mike Evans, 1 catch, 31. Cameron Brate had a couple. And then Antonio Brown, 5 catches, 22 yards, and a touchdown. These guys were absolutely surgical out there. Everything they did, precise cuts, absolutely open all night long. They sifted through the Chiefs' defense. They were able to do their job. And then that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line absolutely held against the test of time. Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs, he knows what the playbook is against Tom Brady because he was the defensive coordinator for the Giants the 2 times they beat the Patriots. He understands that you have to get pressure on Tom Brady, and he didn't do much of that at all. In fact, that offensive line probably played the best game that they played all season long. Tom Brady looked almost untouchable out there, and he had plenty of time in the pocket for whatever pass he was looking for. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we take a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we say, wow, who is that guy, number 45? He flew all over the field. That's right, that was Devin White. Devin White, the young linebacker, had 12 total tackles, including 2 tackles for loss. Devin White also had that game-ending interception in the end zone, kneed it down for a touchback, which sealed the game. The additions of Vita Vea and Jamel Dean from their Week 13 matchup, who didn't play back then, absolutely showcased exactly why we needed to believe in this roster, because adding them in proved an entirely different dynamic. I mean, you take a look at what the Chiefs were able to do back in Week 13. It was a lot of single high safety, a lot of man press defense. Todd Bowles did not respect the speed of Tyreek Hill or Mecole Hardman or Sammy Watkins or anybody else on that roster for the most part. He learned his lesson, and the additions of his players being almost fully healthy, he had everything he could ever possibly want. Now, you take a look at some of these players and what they were able to do. Levante David was a stalwart in the middle of the field. He had a ton of pass breakups. He was all over the field, all over Travis Kelce. Antoine Winfield played over the top and had incredible pass breakups. This defense played lights out. Todd Bowles has to be absolutely thrilled. This may be the shot that he needed to get back into the conversation for another head coaching position. I understand things didn't work out well in New York for him, but watching what he was able to do after learning from Week 13 and to see how this defense performed tonight, absolutely incredible. Now with the good comes the bad. And unfortunately, the Kansas City Chiefs proved that they were very, very bad in this game. Just starting off with the obvious, the glaringly obvious, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line was absolutely abysmal. And when I say abysmal, I'm not joking. It looked like Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett and Vita Vea and some of these other guys were literally running through paper mache out there. It seemed like they could just blow by some of these offensive linemen without having to worry about being touched or blocked or whatever the case. There was no second thought. It was a straight beeline to Patrick Mahomes, who ran for his life the entire night. It was absolutely insane. And then to take it one step further, Patrick Mahomes, when he did have a chance to throw, wasn't totally terrible, but he was 26 of 49. That's almost 50%. And then you take a look at 270 yards. Well, that's a lot less than a Patrick Mahomes-esque night. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's a rough night for Patrick Mahomes. First time in his career that he's never thrown a touchdown in a game. On top of the fact that it was the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era that there were no touchdowns at all in the Chiefs game. Unreal. So, we take a look at the offensive line. We can put a lot of blame on them, but listen, last week it was revealed that Eric Fisher had suffered a season-ending injury in the AFC Championship game, and then the Chiefs developed a plan where they were going to take Mike Remmers, who is their right tackle, move him to left tackle. Then they were going to take their right guard, put him at right tackle, and then fill in the right guard position. So instead of taking somebody and putting them at left tackle, you're simply now taking 3 offensive linemen and putting them in positions that they're not used to playing. I could have told you last week that was going to be a bad idea, which is why I bet against the Kansas City Chiefs. Knowing that information, understanding what the game plan was at the offensive line position, I knew it wasn't going to work. I played offensive line. I understand how that goes. You cannot simply move from right guard to right tackle and right tackle to left tackle with a week's notice going against some of the best pass rushers the NFL has to offer. Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaquille Barrett are some of the best pass rushers and simply one of the best players that we have in this league. On top of the fact that these guys are a little foreign as far as their new positions are concerned, it proved all night that it was a bad coaching error. So then you take away, okay, we've hammered on the offensive line. Patrick Mahomes didn't have a lot of time. He still, he tried to do absolutely everything in his power. I'll give him some credit. I'll give the Chiefs a lot of credit here. Travis Kelce had 10 catches for 133 yards. This man did absolutely everything possible. And frankly, I'm not a big Travis Kelce fan. I'm not a big fan of who he is, but the type of player he is no joke. He is all grit and grind. He's willing to do the dirty work, and it proved out all night long. He did absolutely everything in his power to will this team to a score, to another first down, whatever he could do for his team. The big key here, though, was Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was limited to 7 catches and 73 yards. 73 yards. When you're talking about a guy who had 215 yards in Week 13 in the first quarter. He set a record for a quarter reception yards. Outside of those two players, there was absolutely nobody worthwhile. Sammy Watkins, Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, all not noteworthy. The tight end position, cut that out. And then we take a look at the defense, right? We take a look at some of the tackles that they had or some of the linebacking position. There really wasn't much out there. L'Jarius Sneed did not play up to his level. Chris Jones didn't play up to his level. Daniel Sorensen, Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, these guys who are up to, they're normally up to the task. They just weren't it. And it goes back to what I saw pregame. Watching these guys, watching how they interacted pregame, it seemed to me like they looked a little scared. And I don't know, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not saying that they were scared, but they looked like they were nervous. They looked like they were not prepared and confident in their game plan moving into the biggest stage of them all. So when you take a look at everything that the Chiefs had, everything that they offered in this game, it kind of goes to show that maybe they weren't completely confident in everything they had. On top of the fact that they had plenty of distractions that last week. You talk about Britt Reed and his legal troubles with the drinking and driving accident that left 2 young children hurt and 1 in intensive care. We hope that both those children are safe and that Britt receives the help that he needs. On top of the fact that the team barber, tested positive for COVID while he was cutting the team's hair. 2 players were placed on close contact COVID list. That's definitely a distraction. It seemed like all of these things started to add up. Eric Bieniemy not getting hired, those guys talking about it. All of these things bled into their lack of focus, their lack of determination. And I don't want to hammer on the Chiefs too much, but the fact remains that there was a lot of blame to go around. It starts at the top with Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, who I absolutely love and adore. I love Eric Bieniemy as a head coaching candidate and as an offensive coordinator. But what this team put out on the field was absolutely porous. And that's putting it lightly. They need to get back to the drawing board for next year and say, how can we fix this? How can we make sure? I mean, I didn't see any sort of trick plays. I didn't see any sort of creativity from the offensive side of the ball. It's like they lost all of that momentum, all of that spark that got them to where they are. We take a look at where the Chiefs have been in the last few years and all the things that they've done and how they get the ball up and down the field and sideline to sideline utilizing speed. They didn't do any of that. It was really tough. So just to wrap it up here, the Kansas City Chiefs, listen, we know what we have in Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks that we have ever seen, and he's only 25 years old. He signed a $500 million contract. He's not going anywhere. With that being said, we need to make sure that the Chiefs are putting people around him because it seems like with the way the cap is next year, they're going to be losing a lot of pieces and not going to be able to pay some people. Who knows if they'll make it back to this point? You never know what can happen. On the other side of the ball, Tom Brady, as I said, Father Time has no idea where this man lives. I mean, no freaking clue. Not a clue. So, if you take all of that, I have to imagine that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be relatively close to this position next year. I truly and honestly believe that they will be in the running for the Super Bowl next year. The Kansas City Chiefs, on the other hand, they got some competition in their own division. The Raiders, the Chargers, both of those teams are coming out strong. Justin Herbert looked great. The Raiders have an entire offseason to learn from some of their mistakes. I'm going to take a step back here and say that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to struggle next year and in the coming years moving forward. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers provided a game plan in which other teams can now take advantage of what the Chiefs were not able to do in this game. I want to hear from you guys, though. Let us know what you think from this game. Let us know if you saw anything that we weren't able to bring up. That's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all for now. Peace and love.